Tim, want to pivot to Nebraska recruiting here a little bit. I'd noticed that Nebraska had sent out several JUCO offers
Yeah.
recently here, which seemed like a shift in philosophy sort of for this staff. Any insight there into kind of why the change in philosophy and who, if any, do you think they're likely to land?
Yeah, so you saw five JUCO offers go out. Technically six if you factor in Carrington Pierce, who's a technically an Oklahoma State transfer, but transferred shortly after Gundy was fired, is originally from Chaffey College. So five, technically six, and it was primarily on the defensive side of the ball. Just from what I've been able to gather, more than anything, it's just updated evals. A lot of these guys are getting new offers here late, and I know like we're right up on it. We're less than 3 weeks out from signing day, but um the guys that were offered, David picked up Alabama yesterday and Arizona State recently, and all of this. He's one where it was just it's updated evaluations. The season has come to an end, or the season's wrapping up, so the staff's getting out, watching some tape, and making new offers. And I think part of this, I tried to convey it on our board yesterday, and I don't like. I think it went over, but I'm going to try again. um you are in this day and age in where you're at, and not as in Nebraska, but just in general, what you're looking for when you're trying to acquire talent is you're looking for value. You're looking for, okay, how can I find impact talent at a discounted price, or at the price that makes sense for us, or a price that we're not overpaying here. And JUCO is kind of a unique way to potentially secure that, because you have guys like, okay, they've offered David Chukwumeka, Jalen Anderson, Taylor Schaefer, three guys along the front seven. David, a true defensive lineman that, is more of a slower burn, but he has 1 year of JUCO experience. This is a guy that you're looking at, you have 3-4 years to work with him. And year one, you're looking at him being in the rotation. You're looking for him to play a role, ideally like Cade Petruck or someone like that.
Mm.
And I mean, Bama's in this recruitment now, so maybe the math changes a little bit. But on paper, you weren't having to pay as much as you would have for a Cade Petruck level prospect out of a high school. And so that's kind of where I kind of see the staff working, where like a guy, okay, for example, yesterday they offered Taylor Schaefer, fast rising linebacker out of Iowa Central, who's picked up his first like Power Four offers this week. It's Kentucky offered, Nebraska offered. He's got Arkansas in the mix, and he's got a few other just Big Ten programs. Purdue offered. He's probably going to make like 4 visits. Florida State lurking, a few other programs lurking. But a guy that is from Big Ten country, Nebraska potentially has an opportunity there. That's a true late riser that Nebraska watched his film, kind of got an idea of who he is in year one at JUCO, and offered. And that's like a true updated eval that they feel pretty good about, a guy that they feel can contribute early on in the linebacker room, whether at Jack or inside. And he's another one where, again, from just a value standpoint, all of these guys, and I would say the one name I would keep an eye on, or I keep an eye on Taylor Schaefer for sure. I would also keep an eye on Mako Metelu, offensive lineman out of Mount Sac JUCO, on the West Coast. He's a former mission, or not former, but he's a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints. Went on a mission, did his first year back from the mission at JUCO, but had a Nebraska offer actually prior to all of this as a class of 2022 recruit. He's slimmed down. He's a different kind of body type than he was coming out of high school. Much more athletic build, more capable of playing guard. So we've talked a lot about how Nebraska's kind of looked for this fifth potential offensive lineman, whether that's like ideally a versatile guard, with tackle flexibility, has the ability to play all kind of four positions across the line. Makai is one of those guys, and he's not going to cost you what the other guy they were really looking at as a potential fifth spot, Javion Cooper, Syracuse commit, would potentially cost you. Javion's considering Florida State, Miami, Pitt, and Colorado late. A couple of schools really late in his recruitment, and visited Nebraska with his agents over the summer. But you look at, again, in terms of just, we want a fifth offensive lineman. We have this much to spend. Here's how we want to spend it. It makes more sense maybe to go after Makai at this point.
So, Tim, maybe I'm going to galaxy brain here, but when I saw this kind of flurry, I thought, okay, do they think that long term the JUCO years aren't going to count, and they think this is like a development hack to get a bunch of 20-year-old true freshmen?
I think that's part of it. I think that's part of it just because again, a lot of the guys they've offered too aren't the 2 year JUCO guys that only have like all of these guys have at least 3 years for the most part.
Mhm.
Like all these guys they've offered have at least 3 years. So they are banking on like these aren't guys they're taking on for or these aren't guys they're offering for what they could add in 26. It's what they can add in 27 and 28.
TV, when you're looking at kind of Coach Rhule's presser, you never kind of know what the what the message is. You just take the information for what it is. But were you taken aback, kind of surprised about the financial position he talked so openly about with Nebraska, and then the messages of I don't know, they kind of went together, retention
Mhm.
and acquisition, not necessarily retention versus acquisition.
So I think the wording of what he said was very intentional, specifically with
Me,
talking
me too.
with talking TJ Lateef. That said, when talking about everything, I was a little surprised how open he was. But yeah, we have like we're like because it does kind of put the pressure on you where like the fan base is now like we're already seeing it on the board of like, wait, Rule just said he had all this money. Why are they making all these JUCO offers? Is the portal not what they thought it was? Like, the portal hasn't opened yet. Like I made sure to convey that. Like, hey, portal isn't open yet. Like they don't know what's in the portal. Like they kind of do, but they don't know for sure what's going to be in the portal just yet. This is them doing their due diligence to address needs before signing day the JUCO offers are. But I putting that does put that target on your back of like, okay, yeah, I mean the fan base and people around this are going to expect you to make some moves. Like they are looking for instant impact kind of contribute. Last year, no, Nebraska missed out on some guys they wanted on the D line. They can't really have that this year, you know. And at O line last year, it wasn't money wasn't necessarily the reason they lost out on certain O line targets, but that's going to be the narrative again this year of like, okay, if you're going after tackles in the portal, you can't really miss out. You have no excuse. People forget that this doesn't come down to just money, and money isn't the only thing, but money helps a lot, especially in the portal. So I'm curious how Nebraska attacks it. I have an idea, kind of what positions they plan to attack. It's going to be like front seven focus. It's going to be kind of again like strengthening needs. I think the way they attacked the portal last year was a lot of hey, we need high end, we need contributors, but we also just need like depth. And that's why you saw them attack certain positions the way they did. This year, it is, I think, truly just about high end contributors. And if we're taking a depth piece, it's a guy that we think is going to be a factor in 2026. That's how I think they attack the portal. Now, the second part, the retention part of this, I think they have an idea of what they want to spend on most everybody. And this is how you have to, I'll say this first and foremost. This is how you have to operate in this day and age. And it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're Nebraska, whether you're Alabama, whether you're Oregon, Miami, or down to like a North Texas or a UN or like a Sam Houston, whoever you are, you have your budget. You have this is what we spend on this position. This is the high end of what we spend on a high end contributor at this position. We can't go above that. We have some leeway. We have some like, okay, this is what we see for this. And so the way he answered the TJ Lateef question was interesting to me because the way I have envisioned it, and again, this is me putting words in his mouth, so this is truly opinion. This is not. Don't take this as this is me saying what is. This is me putting words in Matt Rhule's mouth. I think the staff has an idea of what they would pay a high end QB2, what the backup would be, and what that looks like, and what that market looks like. And they are willing to put that offer on the table for TJ Lateef. That said, there's schools out there, especially at the quarterback position, that they have an idea will be willing to offer more. And at that point, it's on TJ to decide what is he willing to do. Is he going to sit and stay and develop, or is he going to go jump for a starting job somewhere else? And there's a lot that still needs to play out. He still needs to perform against Penn State and Iowa to kind of fully see through that value. I think Nebraska also needs to see how these next two games play out to assess, kind of what the future looks like. But the way he answered that was very interesting, just in the sense of like, oh yeah, they're going to do everything they can to keep TJ Lateef, but there are going to be, and I think they're going to face that same thing with Emmett Johnson, where ideally they want both of these guys back for 26 and beyond, or 26 at least for Emmett, 26 and beyond. But you look at what makes sense for these guys' careers. Knowing Rhule and his staff, I think they are starting to. There's this idea that they won't be able to look those guys in the face and say, hey, the best business and career decision for you is to stick around here.
I actually think that's kind of the key, because I could easily see Coach Rhule saying, hey, to EJ, because he's 4 kids.
You could see him say, hey, go to the NFL.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't.
I
don't disagree.
And I don't know what you guys think about this. When I'm listening to him, because I like how he framed it, and because he strikes me as the type of person, because I think he's really fiscally savvy, and I don't think he wants to necessarily build through NIL. I think he wants the option if it comes down to it.
Yes.
He strikes me as the type of person, like McGuire's this guy, right? He sees what McGuire did with that roster because of the oil money resources. If I'm Coach Rhule, I'm probably saying to myself, oh, that's cool. You know, that's what money can buy you. That's not necessarily my cup of tea, but if it comes down to a player or two, I want the option to do the same thing. Doesn't mean he will. This means I think he's better knowing he wants it up to him. He just doesn't want to go into a gunfight with a knife. He may not shoot you, but he wants the opportunity to defend himself. Like, that's kind of how I landed the plane with his personality, because he's a developmental guy. He's a culture guy. Sure, he wants to win, so I think he wants to supplement, not supplant. I think for him, it's more about the opportunity to compete. Just don't tell him he doesn't have the chance to pay for a guy if he wants to. Doesn't mean he necessarily would do it.
Right. And that's going to be, I imagine part like even with all of this, I would say with all of these resources Nebraska now has, the pitch to recruits is going to be, come join our culture, come get developed at Nebraska, not
I
here's
think
a bunch of money.
that's sustainable. That's going to be Nebraska's.
That's how you have to build. Yep, that's how you have to
be
build.
Their superpower.
Otherwise, you're always in a bidding war.
Yep. And
Always.
he just doesn't want to be at the mercy of that.
Yeah.
He's gonna his contingency plan is going to be development, culture. This is a good place to be. Like, you don't say what you say about Thomas and quarterback development. You don't do all that with saying, hey, we're pretty good at this development piece too, by the way, if that's what you're interested in. Because contrary to popular belief, not every recruit that's good is money's the all being thing. Like, some kids want to be developed and be in a place in which they feel comfortable. Like, that's not.
No, I
think we forget about that.
Yeah, I've tried to stress that of I know it's easy to get lost in the NIL era of money's the only thing that wins recruitments, or money's the reason these schools win recruitments. The biggest surprises we've seen this year have been guys picking relationships and development over money. That's been the biggest. That's been across this cycle and in the future, into 27 and moving forward. Trey Taylor has picked Nebraska because of development and because of opportunities at Nebraska, because he fell in love with Nebraska. There have been multiple programs before he committed and since he's committed that have tried to flip him with much bigger offers from his commitment to Nebraska. He is not budged because of what he believes in Nebraska. And that's the Nebraska example, but there are other examples elsewhere, plenty of them of guys doing that. And that's where, that's why Nebraska, in my opinion, that's where I think it's more of a big picture type of thing. But I think that's where this is kind of going at the Power 4 level in terms of the programs that are truly trying to compete at this point for playoff spots and appearances. You have these programs and these head coaches that build primarily through the portal, like your Mizzous and your Ole Misses, and I would even put Tech in there at this point, where the expectation there is, yeah, we compete, but there's more of the floor of those programs are fluctuate. You're seeing the negative side of that at Florida State right now, where what happens when you miss in the portal and when you can't really build that up, the floor, the bottom falls out. With Mizzou, they were really reckless in the portal this year. The way they spent money in the portal, they were planning on making or going kind of in on making a college football playoff appearances, which is why I thought Eli Drinkwitz's comments were a little ironic of talking about just a general broader college football.
He's interesting, isn't he?
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, it's not playoffs or bust." I was like, "Well, for your boosters and the people around you, yeah, it was this year. Like they spent money that it was playoff or bust, and you didn't make it." So, but when you have those programs that are spending and primarily building through the portal, no, I wouldn't say primarily building through the portal, but their impact starters are coming through the portal. What that leads to is a product that is not consistent year to year, and versus you see programs, like that are building, primarily through the high school ranks, like Georgia, like Alabama, and these programs that they develop and they land these high end recruits, they develop them. It's not about Rhule has said this many times. The important thing is not acquiring talent in the portal. It's acquiring talent out of the high school ranks and then retaining that talent when others come in to get them out through the portal. That's what Alabama does a good job of. Georgia does a good job of. Clemson in years past has done a really good job of. And these programs that can compete at a high level, USC, they do a very high end job of. What Nebraska is trying to build, and why I think the portal is going to be supplementary and complementary to what they're doing, is they're trying to build something sustainable through the high school ranks, through high school recruiting, through roster retention, and then, okay, hey, we have some needs that we need to address. Okay, we'll throw in a Williams and Renari and a Deshaun McCullough and a Dane Key when we need to, and obviously an Isaiah Hunter when we need to. We'll add in these value starters when we can and when we can afford to. But that's not how we build this roster. That's not how we plan on adding our impact players year in and year out.
So, Tim, I'm kind of curious about this because DB's brought up this interesting point about maybe the pressure that it puts on you when you're talking about added budget, and you said, yeah, you think it adds some pressure as well. I'm kind of curious if we were just to take the impact guys from last year's class and be like, hey, we have all this NIL money. We're going to get a starting tackle from Alabama, a starting guard from Notre Dame. We're going to get Isaiah Hunter, wide receiver from Cal. It doesn't sound sexy, but if you know it's Isaiah Hunter and what he looks like now, you're like, okay, I like that. We're going to get a former 5-star defensive end. We're going to get an outside linebacker from Oklahoma. Like, people would be happy with that, right?
Oh, I think everyone should be happy with Nebraska. And I think you should be encouraged by what Nebraska did in the portal last year and trust that what they did last year is going to affect how they spend this. I mean, yeah, we talk about all those guys. They were not afraid to go down to Idaho and land Andrew Marshall and make him a Big Ten starting corner.
He's a good spender because he trusts their talent evaluation. You can hear it in his voice.
Yeah.
He's betting on their talent evaluations and development. The money is the equalizer. It's not the indicator.
But I guess what my point is,
I think that's what I think.
I agree. I guess my point is, regardless of budget, if Nebraska simply came close to replicating what they did last year, I don't like. That's why I have a hard time with the pressure conversation, because it's like, okay, even if they weren't in the position financially they wanted to be last year, they still came away with a pretty good transfer portal.
I don't necessarily look at it as pressure as much as I get it. People kind of made it about a referendum for next year, and I'm like, you guys are missing the point.
It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah,
he wants the opportunity. He's not saying they'll have arrived. You want the opportunity to tell people that you're where you need to be, because
to truly be in these recruitments.
Right, because he's heard it on the road. Hey, we're waiting for you to win. We want to see X, Y, and Z. Like, he has to defend the program, to the perception, because he knows what's being said about them on the recruiting trail. Like, that's what I heard. I didn't hear I boxed myself into 2026. I better win because I said I have everything we need. That's not what he was saying. He's not talking to us.
Yeah, he was telling you, like, hey, you can come to Nebraska because we're competitive financially.
That conversation wasn't for us.
Yeah, no doubt. And like, I imagine a lot of that was like directed at, and we'll see what kind of shots they take late here. But some of those shots were kind of just directed at, hey, recruit we missed on in 26, a couple months ago, and this is completely has not picked up our phone calls in 9 months. We have money now. We have the money to pay you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's our guy, Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska. Great stuff as always, Tim. We appreciate the time, and I'm sure I'll see you tonight.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. We'll see you tonight.
See you, TV.
That is Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska.